Welcome to the Love Kanika podcast. My name is Kanika,
My name is Vanita.
and we are back for another show.
Hey
If
guys.
you are if you are new to our podcast, welcome. You probably are because it possibly we've been doing it a little over a year, maybe 2 years going on right now. So you may or may not have come across us on YouTube, but nonetheless, thank you for joining and giving us your time. If you don't mind subscribing, liking the video, so we can eventually get in the algorithm, so we can get more eyes on the show. You know how YouTube is when you saw you know where to be found, but I know that'll change in
Yes.
the right time. So I actually we have a guest on this evening show. My cousin Ashley is joining the show. We were going to do a show about friendship, female friendship. However, one of my friends had a relative to pass away. One of my friends' son is at the hospital. So we just felt it would be better because I want them to be able to participate. So we felt it was better to reschedule to another time when everybody can join. And then, so we decided to change the topic tonight,
Yes.
which is worked out fine because we got one of my favorite people who I think would be the most fitting to discuss this topic with me, since we're kind of in the same boat as far as what we're going to talk about. So tonight what we're going to talk about is the Black church, and did being raised in the Black church, when I said being raised, meaning Ashley and I, because we were kind of came up in the same church because we were cousins. Did it hinder us or did it help us as we look back on it now? So I'm super excited to talk about this because this is something I've thought about, over the years and really analyzed, what I was taught, or what I like to say, what I was programmed to believe, and how that religious programming, affected my life. So we're going to talk about that. So how are you, V?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
Good, good. How are you, Miss
Good.
Ashley?
I am well. Thanks for asking.
Good, good, good. Okay. So I want to kind of start by giving a little background on me. I was raised in a small town in Georgia. It's like a little bit southern, like 30 minutes south of the Atlanta airport. And we all know how small towns is. Everybody know everybody kind of thing. There's a church on every corner. In the South, church is a big thing. Because it's the Bible Belt. That's why they call it the Bible Belt.
Exactly.
It's very religious, and conservative. So my entire family, and Ashley, will contest to this, kind of all went to the same church. Like church was a big part of our lives growing up because we had an auntie who was like deeply, deeply into the church. So anything the church had, whether it was Sunday school, Bible study, choir, vacation Bible school, what some people might not even know what that is. Vacation Bible school.
I was gonna ask, what is that?
You don't even know what it is.
I don't know what that is. What is it?
Actually, we tell about what vacation Bible school is.
Vacation. See, vacation means taking a break to me.
So it is pretty much, normally it's like a week long session of just Bible study. You go there for a couple of hours, and it's vacation Bible school because, of course, it's like always during the summertime.
Yep.
And it's mostly geared toward kids, but they do have like adult classes as well. And you just go there and pretty much have Bible study every day of the week for like a week. It's normally like a week long, but yeah, vacation Bible school. And they tend to have like other activities that they try to implement in there, but That's pretty much the gist of it. But yeah, it is
Yeah.
a total thing. It is a huge thing. There are probably signs already out right now for Vacation Bible School. So
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Deep.
huge thing. It's
Okay.
a big thing. So yeah, it's big in the church world. So
Yeah.
so Vacation Bible School every summer, this and that. So I was
Wait a minute. And y'all went every summer?
Every summer.
yeah, like the kid, because our auntie made us. My Ashley mama and my mama are sisters, and then we have another auntie who she kind of ran the family. So whatever she say,
She's the
Gotcha.
matriarch. Yes.
she's the
Yes.
matriarch.
Yes.
I can contest to that. I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
She's the boss.
Around.
she's definitely the boss. So
Yeah.
all the kids, had to go, which is fine. It's kind of what we
Yeah.
do. So
What
it's
you
no
do
big
back
deal.
there. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember just even as a kid, I couldn't have been no more than 11 or 12 years old. And this is pure, unadulterated honesty. I used to sit in church and I used to think to myself,
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing the right thing by going to church and praising God and praising the Lord. Now I'm a kid now. I'm like 12 thinking this in the pew, right? In the thing and see, why is everybody still so broke? That's what I used to think in my head. I did.
Golly.
I was like, what? I thought to myself, shouldn't God like give us some money? Give everybody some money. So if you're doing the right thing, why aren't we rich? And the people who don't even go to church, why are they rich and we're poor? I used to think that as a kid.
That's crazy as heck. Well, okay.
It didn't make no sense to me. So even then, at that young age, it was something about it that I just didn't believe. Because what was being said was not what I was being shown in the reality. It's like I thought to myself, these people are here every week, every Sunday, every Wednesday night, or some of them, and they be struggling. I don't see in my young child mind, I thought that if you go to church, then you're supposed to reap the rewards, not everybody else who don't go to church out there. And I saw these people. I knew they didn't go to church.
But they had the money though.
Yeah,
but they had that money.
They had the money. Their life seemed to be a lot more happier. And I'm just looking, than the people that I seen in the church. And that didn't make no sense to me, even as a child.
That's deep.
But that I went along with it because that's what they said I was supposed to do. So you don't question it. You don't ask these. That's what I thought. You don't ask no questions. That's just how it is. But it sat in the back of my mind forever. Like something about this ain't right. Get grown or whatever. And I was still very, up until age 24, I would say I was still, very. I had the ideologies, in my mind, of Christianity and all the rules. You're not supposed to do this, and you're not supposed to think that. I mean, even stuff like sexually that I may have wanted to do or thought about doing or had a desire to do, when it used to pop into my mind, I used to think, now God said that ain't right. You're not supposed to be thinking that because this is how I was programmed. So I got it's this repression of just sometimes just natural human things that I would kind of struggle with internally, whether or not I was doing the right thing or not. And it wasn't until I turned about 24 years old, and I remember coming home from work, and I've told this story a couple of times, that I remember coming home from work one day. I lived with myself in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I put my stuff on the bed, and I sat there for a minute, and I thought to myself, is this, and I'm talking to God, I said, is this all there is, God? Like, you just go to work, come home, have some kids, and take care of them, and do it all, or your man or your husband or whatever, and you come back and you do it all over again? Like, I'm sitting on the bed talking to God, like, what's the point of all this? Because that don't make no sense to me. It got to be a reason, we're doing all of this. So, to my surprise, God started to communicate back to me and started to show me that I might not have all, I might be in a box, or I might not be able, I haven't seen what God really is. I had no awareness of the magnitude of the entity or the divine being, the creator of all the universes that we like to call God. I call God, people have their name or whatever. And that how what I had been taught wasn't necessarily all the truth, which was shocking for me. It was so shocking for me that I was angry for a bit. And what God started to reveal to me was everything that they saying I said in that book ain't true. I ain't say that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine God telling you that everything you have been taught to believe, not everything, not all of it, but a lot of the things you've been taught to believe or told were the truth, were absolutely not the case. And you've been living with this for 24 years. Everybody, most of the people around you believe these things. They're repeating these things. So it was shocking for me, but nonetheless, it freed me, and it gave me the confidence to know that what I always thought when I was young was the truth. It doesn't add up. And I want to talk about how it affected me, and how allowing God to lead me, not the church and not the Bible, but the divine being, really changed my life for the better. And I want to approach this with as respectful, as I can be, because I know, and I don't want to disrespect, anybody who believe what they believe. You are entitled to believe what you believe. It works for you, so be it. But I have to be honest and tell my truth of my spiritual journey, and how I got to where I am now. But before that, I do want to ask Ashley, kind of tell us a little bit about you, how you were brought up, in church, and your spiritual background. And, did you see anything young, or did you just go with it, or kind of how was the experience for you?
So, like you mentioned, we grew up pretty much the same. You hit the nail on the head as far as us growing up in the church. We were from a very small town. We have a very close, tight-knit family. So going to church sometimes meant that we were able to also see family as well. So it was just kind of like a really big experience every time. But as far as my background, I definitely started out as a Christian, very heavy in the church, a very big believer for a long, long time. And of course, that has now transitioned to be something else, which, if you want to know that, please tune into another show. Well, actually, go watch another show that was also done on this same platform. So tune in and you can find out about that there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just my journey has been very long, just very thought provoking. I've had a lot of moments of self reflection where I've had to go back and just pretty much relearn a lot of things. I had a lot of questions growing up. Some of them they tried to answer, some of them were never answered until now. And I've kind of been able to kind of put the pieces together in my own way and start my own journey. So that is currently where I am now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Ashley. For me, like I said, it was the sitting down in my home and really just talking to God, just seeking more. It kind of was like, I know, and I'm gonna use this because y'all have all seen the movie. Everybody's seen this movie. You know how in the first Matrix, in the beginning of the movie, when Neo was on the computer and he knew something wasn't right, that he just couldn't figure it out, but he knew something wasn't right when he was in his. He knew that it was something going on. That's kind of how I was. Like, what is this going on? Something don't feel right. I feel like I'm missing something. That's how I started my journey of questioning, everything that I was taught. How did it come about for you?
The same thing. Pretty much just starting to question things, started reading and just doing research and just seeing kind of the contradictions, starting to just realize the things that, like, pretty much the things that I felt they didn't really make sense, I guess. Like, there were a lot of things that I tried to answer that just weren't answered. So it just didn't make sense as to like the thought process that I was taught versus what is actually happening. For instance, like I was taught to believe that if people weren't of certain beliefs, then they weren't gonna go to heaven, or that they were, like, I would just look at them kind of more so in a negative light, whether that is what it says or just that is something that kind of came, like, that I came to my own conclusion on. That is actually what happened for me. So it's kind of like I started to box people in, and I started to kind of project my beliefs onto others.
Yes.
And so with that, I found that was very damaging, because any type of projection on anybody else is, for me, considered a selfish thing, because that is then something that I'm trying to desire and something that I want for something else, for someone else who may not even want that.
Absolutely.
So it becomes very, very, very selfish. So that is where I think it started for me, is just kind of wrestling with that and trying to figure out, like, why is this the case? And I started to be very, like, I just started to kind of think through just my thoughts and beliefs and start to relearn a lot of things and really learn more about myself and how negative I was being. Like, I thought it was something healthy. I thought it was something positive, when in fact it was very damaging.
And the thing about it is, we're in the Christian faith, you're taught to kind of, I don't want to say push your beliefs off on other people, but you're taught to, like, spread the good news. So in your mind,
yes, you think you're doing good.
You think you're doing something real good.
Yeah.
You want them to come to Jesus because that's what you were taught, that's going to save them from the pits of hell. So if you can save people from going to hell, then we feel like as Christians, it was our duty to do that. But trying to push this stuff off on other people, and particularly Black men, they're not trying to hear it. They were trying to hear none of it. None of it. They the most non-religious people on the planet. So, I would say stuff or something, and they would just look at me crazy, like, you really believe, like, really? But I really, really did, because that's what I was taught to believe. So, when God started showing me that it wasn't necessarily the truth, I was angry for a minute, y'all. I was angry because I felt like this is the biggest lie. This is how I felt in the moment. I don't feel like that now, but this is how I felt in the moment, because now I have a better understanding, of the Matrix and kind of how it works. But I was like, how can such a big lie be told to millions and millions of people, and everybody's running with it? I was like, that ain't right. Like, everybody's believing. So I had to process through the hurt, and the anger of feeling like I had been deceived, right? And that, church was a fraud. This is what I thought in the moment. Church was a fraud, and everybody in there were hypocrites. And I had to process through, those emotions, because if you've held a belief for your entire life, and then all of a sudden you find out that it's not true, it could be devastating, because my identity had been tied into being a Christian. So it's almost like a part of my identity was snatched from me, and I wasn't like that, but I did believe, I did have some belief in, I trusted that what I was being taught all my life was the truth. I really, really did. So needless to say, it was kind of heartbreaking when I realized that, I had guilt for things that I wanted to do, did. I was carrying guilt for things that I shouldn't have been carrying guilt for, because I was told that I've been told all my life that these things were wrong. And it could just be stuff like thoughts, thoughts of things that I wanted to experience or do. Oh, no, that ain't right. And when I look back on it, my assessment about it is, and this is just my opinion, I feel like it does more harm than good. Particularly when I say it, I mean church, particularly for Black women. And I say that because a lot of times church kind of puts off accountability for your own life in Jesus's hands, right? And unfortunately, as we can see just by the state of the community, that what we're believing and what we have been carrying and passing down from generation to generation hasn't really made a positive effect on the community as a whole, because it still looked pretty raggedy. But we have like churches on every corner in almost every neighborhood, all over, definitely the Bible Belt. They're everywhere. So why isn't this thing that we have been taught for now, hundreds of years or, decades or whatever, why isn't that translating over to real life? You in church, it's like either give it to Jesus or the devil did it. So it kind of makes you think that, Jesus is going to come and do all these things for your life, when in reality, we're responsible for the decisions and the choices that we make in our own life. And we got to deal with the consequences of those choices. There's no devil that's tempting us. It's choice. And a lot of it has to do with, the way, when I say it, I mean our choices and things, the way we were raised, who was raised by, what part of the world we was raised in, all of that, is affecting our lives. But the choices that come out of that, we're accountable for. Like Jesus ain't gonna save you. You got to save you. And that's the part of the church that I feel like is a bit detrimental, because when you get out in the world, it can be an ugly world. And I say this because I feel like the church is mostly full of Black women. It's full of us. Because if you go in a church anywhere, you might see, I don't know, 80 Black women and 5 men. It's just, and most of them are deacons on some of the board or something like that. You just don't see it. But I understand why. I get why so many, Black women turn to the Black church, because we need some hope, right? And that's the only thing we know to go to. That's the only thing, that we've been taught to do, is go to church. But has it really made a difference? It might have made a difference because when I go to church, and I do go to church, I go now, right? Because I moved through my anger, and that's a whole nother story. But when you go to church, I feel good when I come out of church. A lot of times, the choir, if it's a good pastor, if the word is good, I enjoy it. But I understand that even when I come up out of there, when they do the benediction, my life is my responsibility, and giving it to Jesus ain't gonna fix it. I can pray about it, and I know God or universe will assist me or help me find solutions or drop stuff in my spirit. But at the end of the day, I have to make the choices. I have to fix what's going on in my life, not Jesus. So that's kind of, and also another thing, blaming everything on the devil. Or the devil made me do it, or the devil is tempting me. No, the devil ain't tempting you. That's just something you might want to do. And sometimes you got to come to terms with that. Either you want to and be okay with whatever you want to do, or not, that the devil ain't got nothing to do with it. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. So when I look back on it, I don't know that I would, matter of fact, I'm not going to say I don't know. I know I would not be sitting here today if I was still Christian that way. I know that for a fact. I would not be sitting here on this podcast talking to you right now if God hadn't have shown me that, hey, you in a box, you in a religious box. I'm bigger than a religion. I'm bigger than any religion you can think of. We're going to take you outside of your religious awareness, and we're going to let you look down on what's really going on. And God intervening in my awareness, my consciousness, because that's what it is. It's consciousness, your mind, your thoughts, your consciousness changed the course of my life for the better. And in saying that, I believe that Black women as a whole, we would be in a better position in our lives and just in society if we weren't if we didn't have so much religious programming. I truly believe that. What do you think about that, Ashley and V? Ashley, then you and V.
I definitely agree with that. All the points you made, I totally agree with that. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think for me, religion and just going to church, it caused me again to put people in a box. And once I stepped back off of that, I felt like once I started to just break away from that type of thinking, as you mentioned, I know you said that you felt hurt. For me, I felt so confused, and I also felt disgusted because I started to think back on all of the things that I said and the damage that I did to other people, thinking that I was doing the right thing when in fact I was doing things that were very, very hurtful. And I felt like I just wanted to go back to all the people I could think of at the time and just like apologize and try to make it right. And I know that that's like, it's a lot, but it was a very, very confusing time. It was hard to break away from it as well, because it's like there has to be, like I kept trying to hang on to it. I kept trying to justify it, but the more that I thought about it, I was like, there's nothing I can come up with to justify why I'm thinking like this. Like I need to just take a step back and just regroup. And that's what I've been doing. And I feel like now that I've done that, things are just a lot better. Things make sense now. Like I feel better about like the way that I think through things, the way that I interact with people. I don't label people anymore. It's like I see them all as like a person, which is crazy to say that I didn't see them that way. But I feel like
before.
So like with church, sometimes I felt like say for instance, if you saw someone that was like less fortunate or something like that, it made them seem as though they were like you saw that they were less than seeing them as like a person. So it would kind of almost give you like an ego boost in a sense, which it probably should not be that way, but that is kind of how it is. Well, this person is a poor person. Mind you, I wasn't really making money like that. So technically I was poor too.
Right.
So it's like we're pretty much in the same salary bracket here. But I was looking down on this person as though I I don't know, like they just didn't have as much as I did. Mind you, now I probably had a roof or something like that to live. Like I had a house to go to because, of course, my parents provided that. But it wasn't like I had a job or anything like that. If something were to happen to my family, I would be right there homeless on the street as well. But because of my thinking, it just caused me to see this as a different like type of person, and almost made me feel as though I was like kind of better than it.
Yes,
But it shouldn't have been like that. So now it's like I now have compassion for this person. Like I see this as an actual person now who's just down on their luck. Like it doesn't cause me to think that they're like, just because they may be less than or something, I mean, not less than, but that they may be homeless for like whatever's going on in their lives. Like they may be homeless right now. That doesn't mean that they've always been like that. Like it totally made me just dismiss their story. It made me dismiss kind of who they are and where they're from or what their situation is about. And it just made me throw them in a box. Well, this person's homeless, so they must be this, or they had to do this, or they need to come to church and maybe they'll be able to kind of get their lives back on track or something like that. Not even thinking that they could very well be a believer themselves. Absolutely. So it's like, it just totally made me project this type of stereotype on this person, all because that's kind of the information that I was fed through church. Now they didn't preach that in the pulpit, but that's kind of the things that you just kind of learn from like just being in that atmosphere. And it's not only just people that are impoverished that you get that mindset. It's other type of people like homosexuals. They throw them in a box of just being outcast, or this is wrong, or you're going to hell and all this other stuff. And it, for a little bit of time, I had those thoughts as well. And it's like, that's the craziest thing to me now, that people are like
judgmental.
Exactly. Like that is the craziest thing, that people make other people outcasts because of who they decide to love. Like that doesn't speak to their character. It doesn't speak to the type of person they are when it comes to being in a relationship. Like they can be the most healthiest person in a relationship, but you got people out here that's in a heterosexual relationship that's cheating, that's abusing, that's lying, all this other stuff. But because they're in a heterosexual relationship, that is seemed as like good or characterized as like the way that things should be. It's like, it's crazy to me. It like, that's the type of things that I had to kind of relearn and just retrain my brain on. Like it makes no sense. It's crazy and it makes no sense.
It is crazy and it makes no sense, Ashley.
Yeah.
And when you finally figured out that, oh my God, what have I been doing? What I've been thinking? I've been judging people, been criticizing them.
Yes.
Like, what did you like? Did you feel like bad inside? That you was like,
I did. I felt so bad. Like even people of different religions, like I would even like see them in a different light, because I always thought that my religion was correct. Like my way was the right way. My religion is the correct way. Like that's what you learn in church, that you're believing in the one true God. So it's like, naturally, if you believe that, everything else outside of that is wrong.
Yep.
But you don't ever consider the fact of where you live, where they live, where their family was brought up, and the religious influence in the area of where they grew up.
Absolutely.
And where their family is from and what their culture is.
Absolutely.
So it's like none of that stuff is ever taken into consideration when you're thinking about religion, and just the millions I feel that are out there, and how everybody believes that theirs is the true one. But that's another story. But even that like caused me to like stereotype people, and just at the time feel compassion for them, like they must not know better, or they'll be able to come to Jesus or learn about him later. It's like it's crazy now thinking about like that being my mindset years ago.
And the sad thing about that, Ashley, is you're taught to do that.
Yes.
You really believe what the judgments and the things you're pushing off on other people, you believe that's the way to go. And it's so crazy because, like Ashley said, really, buckle up, y'all. This might sting a little bit. The only reason why you really you have the religious, whatever affiliation or whatever your religion is, really the only reason why you believe what you believe is because of the part of the world you were born in, and who your parents are and what they believe. Because usually your parents or grandparents give you your religion. And the part of the country, the part of the world that you're, in, if you're in India, you're going to be this. If you're in China, you're probably be like, that's the only reason really why you believe what you believe. You didn't choose this. If you didn't know, you didn't choose your religion. Your religion was given to you by the Matrix. And once I understood, once I understood that religion is a part of the Matrix, like celebrate holidays, that's a Matrix thing,
Yeah.
I'll take Christmas, for example. I love Christmas. I love Christmas because I get together with my family and we just love on each other. That's why I love Christmas. But at the end of the day, somebody said this is the day Jesus, because don't really none of us even really know nothing. So somebody said this is the day we're gonna make Jesus' birthday. Y'all gonna get some trees, y'all gonna change some gifts, and do what y'all gonna do. And we said, okay.
Yes. And now we do that.
That's kind of that's the Matrix. The Matrix said we're gonna work from 8 to 5, from 9 to 5, from 4 to 10. We said, okay, somebody made these rules. Y'all do understand that. Somebody somewhere, the higher up, said, this is what y'all gonna do. And we all just jumped on board.
That's even the case with Easter too, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Easter too.
Okay.
Easter too. Yes. All holidays. Somebody had to say we're gonna celebrate these days on this day. It's the same thing with religion. Somebody said, somebody passed the book down and said, these are the books, whatever religious text you read and believe in. If you do, we're gonna write these stories. They, they inspirational, they sound good. We're gonna give you, and this is what y'all gonna believe in. We said, okay, none of this stuff is really ours. So when I understood how the Matrix works, it's just some shit. Somebody said we do, and we all jump on board. Even think about it. And I always like to use this example because this is one that everybody can clearly see and understand. Most people eat pancakes in the morning. Why? Why the morning? Why can't we eat them at night? We all go to IHOP in the morning or the Waffle House. Why do we eat certain foods in the morning? Why can't we eat them at 6? I mean, we can, but most people don't. You follow the template the Matrix give us. Somebody said, y'all better eat that bacon and eggs in the morning. And we said, okay. So we all eat bacon and eggs in the morning. It's programming. It's no different with religion. But once you understand the Matrix and how it works, you can be in it, but not of it. You can enjoy it. And the beautiful things that happen in the Matrix, like I said, we like holidays. I just like that, example. And you can participate in it and know this is some shit we do. Somebody said we're gonna do it, we all do it, but you can enjoy it, but you understand that at the end of it all, it don't really mean nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just another download, another program.
Yeah.
Move your screen around. Your screen is jumping. Your face is just jumping. Yeah.
Okay, let me. What about now?
Nope.
No. Okay, hold on.
Switch us around and see if that helps.
Okay, let's see.
There you go. It stopped.
It stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
So once you understand how the Matrix kind of works, and that there's there are higher realms, or what I like, what you can call it whatever you want. I like to call it spiritual realm. Some people like to call it heaven, whatever name or label you want to put on it. And then you come down here to the spiritual school, or up, or wherever we come from in the spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. We come here to the Matrix for evolution, to grow, to learn, to experience things. Once you understand that's what you're doing, number one, you won't take things so goddamn seriously. Everything won't make you mad. You won't point the finger so much at other people, saying that they did this to me, or he did that to me, or she did that to me. You'll understand that you chose this experience that you're having with this other soul, other person, for your evolution. So you can be in the like now when I'm going through things, now that I have more awareness, and I'm not so that my consciousness has been raised. Like when I'm going through things now, of course I'm gonna feel the emotions and all of that, even though I'm aware of what's going on, it still feels real in the moment. But when I get past the emotion parts of it, I always ask myself, Now, what am I trying to teach myself in this experience? V and I talk about this all the time.
All the time.
Vanita, how has religion affected or not affected your life when it comes to the way you were raised?
So for me, we wasn't raised in a religious background. Now, my great aunt that I was raised by, her best friend went to church every Sunday. So some Sundays we would go with her, but in my mind, it was we going to Sizzler afterwards. So I couldn't tell you anything that was happening in church.
That's the best part.
Like, when she said we was going to church, all I thought was, well, we about to go eat this good Sizzler after.
Sizzler was the after church spot back in the day.
You already on Sunday dinner. That's
That's all I was thinking of. Like, oh, okay, so I'm about to go get some good Sunday dinner, like you said, Ashley. Yeah. So that's the only thing that was in my mind. But for me, as I got older, what I started feeling was I felt like I was disconnected from, like I was a foreigner. Something was wrong with me because the religion, the Christianity was not hitting me like it was hitting everybody else. I was like, what the pastor said, none of that made any sense to me. It was like, none of this makes any sense to me. It doesn't connect. It doesn't correlate. Like, I don't get it. I don't see the end result of this. And I used to beat myself up big time for not being connected. I felt like I was a foreigner or alien or something like that because it just was not clicking with me like it was, quote unquote, clicking with everybody else.
Yeah. It don't feel like that.
Yeah, I didn't get it. So I went through a lot of self-turmoil. Like, I used to beat myself up a lot. Like, you're fucked up. Something's wrong with you. Like, you got to get it together. Like, this isn't, how are you not connecting, but everybody else is? How are you not able to, and this was in my adult years, my early 20s. It was, how are you not having a desire or a want to go to church? Or how are you don't have a desire or a want to understand this Bible stuff that everybody is talking about? Because I to this day, I don't know the Bible like that. I know some verses, but I don't know the Bible.
Right.
But it used to tear me up a lot inside. And I remember definitely in my teenage years, I do remember, quote unquote, and I'm saying quote unquote because I don't know that I really believed I was talking to God or wasn't talking to God. I didn't believe it was really a God or a higher power or anything. The only time that I do remember sitting and talking, I had to be maybe about between 15, 16, something like that. I think I got in trouble for something. Actually, I think I was a little younger than that. I may have been about 13, 14. Anyway, I got in trouble for something. And again, I was living with my great aunt. So I remember crying out to God saying, why can't my mom be here? Why did she just throw me away? Why you can't just bring her back? And I remember for about 2 weeks or so praying for her to come back, and she never came back. So after that 2 weeks, I was like, this shit is bogus. There ain't no damn God. Y'all, what are y'all talking about? This is all false. And I pretty much rolled that out into my late 20s almost. Just about.
I can see that. I mean, if you haven't had your own experience with God or the universe, whatever name you want to label, you want to call, and you haven't had any religious programming, like you didn't have none, I can see why you wouldn't believe it, because you don't have any tangible evidence.
That's exactly.
For me, you know, God became real for me. Like, when I say real, like I knew there was something bigger than me. Not the God that they told me about, but the God that I knew was walking with me. I never forget 2 things that happened to me in my 10 years, and I said, "Oh, this is real." God, I don't know the God they be talking about, but God, this God thing is real. Make a long story short, back in the 90s, early 90s, when there was no cell phones, I was 16 years old. Me and my friends used to go to Atlanta. And I say Atlanta is because we lived like 45 minutes south of Atlanta, in a small town. So we used to all jump in our car and we used to all, go hang out, in Atlanta or whatever. And one night I was by myself. I had a boyfriend. I was 16 years old. He lived about, I don't know, 35 minutes away from me. So I'm in my car, drove to his house, and didn't leave till about 3 a.m. I had a gray Spectrum, and it wasn't the best or most reliable car. And mind you, this is like the early 90s, so ain't no cell phones. None of that stuff. We still going to the payphone, got beepers or whatever. So I ended up leaving his house maybe like 3 a.m, coming down the interstate. Now, between exits from where I lived in Atlanta, there were long periods of just nothing but trees and nothing between the exits, like no lights, nothing, just trees, right? So halfway home, 3 o'clock in the morning on a dark highway with not many vehicles on it, my tire began to like shake really bad, my back tire. And I remember thinking, oh my fucking God, my tire is about to bust, right? Like my tire is about to bust, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, who's going to see me? Who's going to find me or whatever? So I'm like freaking out, but I'm still riding. I knew I had, by this time when it started shaking, I knew I had maybe about 15 more minutes before I would at least get to the exit. So I'm riding, y'all. And I am freaking praying. I am praying. I'm praying like I have never prayed before, because I know if my tire busts, I'm not going to get out of the car because it's dark. People won't be able to see me. I'm going to have to wait till the morning before somebody will be able to, find me. Again, there's no cell phones. And this was like 1992. I'm praying. As I'm driving down interstate, it's getting worse. My car's beginning to shake. I mean, it's getting bad, y'all. Like, I am like, by this time, tears are in my eyes because I know that my tire is about to bust. So I'm riding. I see the exit sign. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, here comes the exit. Let me just, if I can just at least get to the exit, I'll be okay. So riding, it's getting worse. It's getting worse by the second. So I get out, I get to the exit. I'm like so grateful. I am praising God. I'm like, at least I'm off the exit. I can go to a gas station or something. But I was like, let me see how close I can get to my house. So I'm still driving. It's wobbling. It's shaking. I'm driving down this long street in a small town, like the main road, whatever. Now it's still going. It's getting worse, but I'm just gonna push it until it pops, wherever it pops at. Because around this long street, there, there's a lot of stores and gas stations. So somebody will help me because there's lights everywhere out here versus on the highway where it's black dark. They can't see me. So I'm riding around. Yeah, I took this on everything. I get to my driveway and I turn off. I pull up in my driveway. Now this time I'm in tears because I can't believe that I have made it home. Soon as I turn my car off, the tire popped. Soon as I turned it off, I knew at that moment that God was real. I was like, God kept me all the way home and didn't allow that tire to bust until I pulled into my driveway.
You're on mute, Nika. You still on mute? We can't hear you.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, now we can.
Not I had been taught, but the God that held me, that guided me home safely. I think for everybody, and this is just my opinion, I think a relationship and an experience of your own outside of anything you've been taught, anything a book say, anything a place of worship say, anything of it's important to have a relationship with God for yourself. Find out who God is for yourself. Stop taking everybody's word for it and listen to who everybody else say God with. Because if you start talking to God for yourself, you will get some enlightenment that might change your life. Because it changed mine. I know when I met Vanita, it's funny because it's another experience when Vanita and I worked together. We met working together, and our boss at the time was a pastor, right? So I never forget one day we was at work, and our boss, he's a black man. He came out to the floor to talk about something. Vanita sat across from me, kind of. And I don't know how we got on the subject. Do you remember this, V? We got on me, you and Hazel got on the subject of God. We got on the subject of
kind of, but I don't remember the whole entire conversation. Y'all were going back and forth, and I remember being in total loss. I was like, what? Like, really?
Yes, you were looking, and when he and I were talking, I could tell by the look on your face that whatever we were saying was hitting you. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this conversation is for you. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is for you, because God was trying to enter your awareness, because you didn't really have,
Nope. Did not believe at all.
No.
Nope.
So it's experiences like that for me that has shaped my relationship, with God. I know God is real, and nobody can't really tell me nothing about nothing God said, nothing all that, because I have my own relationship with God. And to have that, you have to spend time. Just talk to God. Like, you just talk to God, You don't have to, have no formal prayer or nothing like that. You just in the car or whatever. And that's how you build a relationship, with God, if that's something that you want to do, because
exactly. And know that the information tends to come through people and things and all kinds. So don't dismiss anything, because that's how it came for me. It started coming through individuals, and it was like, what? TV shows, all kind of stuff.
Yeah,
all kind of stuff.
All kind of ways.
Yeah. And it was like, what? You talking to me? And then when you on that, you talking to me, and it repeat 3 and 4 times, it's like, yo, you talking to me.
Absolutely. This is for me.
Yeah, this is for me. Oh, okay. So you answered my question. Thank you, God. So yeah. But I had to come to that. I had to have several different wow experiences.
They are wow experiences.
Yeah, they are wow experiences. To know that there is a God, I call higher power, but whatever you want to call, the power. But it has been crazy for me. It to come to it, and once it started coming to me, I didn't feel so crazy. Kind of like what Ashley was saying earlier. It was like a peace came over me. I didn't feel crazy, because I used to literally feel crazy, like I did not belong in this world at all. Like something was seriously wrong with me. So,
and that goes back to what Ashley was saying about pushing the leaves on other people, or kind of make, again, you think something was wrong with you this whole time, and you weren't even in the religion, but you knew about it. You knew, or you thought this is what you're supposed to do. So now you're feeling bad, because you feel like, why can't I do what they all do?
It's like, why can't I? What's wrong with me? I constantly used to say, what's wrong with you? Something is wrong with you. I literally used to say those things to myself over and over. I did not even realize I was really in self-destruct mode. And I had no clue.
Yeah, beautiful. You gotta say something, Ashley?
No, I was about to say, yeah, that's exactly how it is. It's almost kind of like you're taught the standards and the guidelines of how you're supposed to be. So if you're not that, it totally makes you feel less than. And then you also start to see people and start to view them as less than, and try to give yourself ego boosts in different ways. And it's just a very self-destructive thing. It's a very, it's dangerous to do. It's very dangerous to do, because it'll just shape you in this very unrealistic way.
It does.
Not only to view yourself, but how you view others, and to just build relationships. It's totally self-destructive for sure.
Yeah. So I relate when you say that whatever the ego boost was for you, Ashley, when you were saying it made you feel above. I literally thought everybody was above me, like literally, and something was wrong with me. I was like, why am I even here? So to go from feeling that way religious wise to feeling like your mom had thrown you away, your dad had thrown you away, your grandmother, like that was a lot. I was in straight destructive mode. Like, yeah, self-destruction. It was crazy.
And this is why I believe it does more harm, particularly to Black women, and it's not intentional. I don't think it's intentional.
No.
You do, you do what you taught to do. You do what the program that's downloaded on you says to do. But I do believe that, and this is just from everybody around me who has awakened to this, to this information and to this knowledge, seems to be in a lot better space than they were before they knew this knowledge.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with believing what you're going to believe is your life at the end of the day. But really look at your life and assess in a real honest way, is my life reflecting what I believe? Exactly. Is what I believe showing up in the physical realm? Because if you're just believing a bunch of shit, but it ain't improving your life, because we got one life to live. You want to create the best life you can create, the happiest, most peaceful, financially stable life you can create. So if you holding these belief systems, but you don't see the payoff of what you believe in, then you might want to assess what you believe, and that's okay. That's the beautiful thing about God. They're not gonna tell you. They'll put you up on game. God don't care what you really believe. God is gonna love you even if you don't believe. Even if you don't. That's how beautiful God is. God loves believers, non-believers, Hindus, Christians. It don't matter what you believe. Ultimately, it's your life. But what I would suggest is if your life don't reflect the life you want, look at your belief system. God ain't gonna punish you. You're not gonna be betraying your religion or betraying nobody. It's okay to ask questions, like Ashley did. Because once she began to question it, she found the path for her. Exactly. The one that's designed for her. And her life reflects it. And that's another thing. And these some of the nastiest, I miss some of the nastiest people who go to church all the time. And then some of the nicest, most gentle, kind people who ain't never stepped foot in it. Why is that? If you
it make sense.
If you believe in Jesus and what Jesus stood for, love, compassion, kindness, empathy, all that stuff, why are you being nasty, gossipy, lying? All of you up in the church every week. So that doesn't, again, is it paying off? Is it showing up in who you are? Is it showing up in your physical? Are you seeing the blessings, that's supposed to come from, all the things that you're doing and believing, right? You have to really look at that and be honest with yourself, and don't be afraid to question it. Even if you decide to stay, it works for me, that's fine. But at least look at it. Look at what all the things that you've been taught, and ask yourself, is this good for my life? Because a lot of the stuff you've been taught is somebody else's thoughts, somebody else's judgments, somebody else's belief. They were just given to you. Question that. God wants you to question that, because in the questioning, there's growth. There's a lot of evolution that can be found in just being fearless. Just being fearless. I know it changed my life for the better. It changed Ashley's life for the better. It changed Nina's life for the better. We are all seeing, what basically breaking out of that box, has done for us. And the beautiful thing is God still loves us all. It don't matter. I know people think it because you were programmed to believe, no, if you go outside of this or you believe this is going to be wrong. That's just not true. That's not true. So that's why I wanted to do this show, to say that it's okay to question the things you've been taught by your very well-meaning parents and family and stuff, but may not necessarily be the right thing for you in your journey in this lifetime. We're all individuals. We all have our individual journeys. Don't try to blend into the matrix because you're going to find yourself unhappy and losing every time. Blend into the journey God has called for you, whatever that may be. Follow the path God has designed for you, whatever that may be. Yo, look, you might not want to believe any goddamn thing. If that's what God has for you, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You don't ever want to do whatever, believe whatever. It's okay. I think what God wants most for us is to take care of each other, love each other, show empathy and compassion for our fellow humans, and take care of each other.
One another. Yeah.
That's the most important things in life, and to love on one another.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what Jesus stood for. The one y'all keep talking about all the time. Follow him and what he did. Not follow the religion, follow what he did, the man he was, the things he did, not the belief system, right? It really changes your life, so it does. So in closing, we're gonna go ahead and just get some closing remarks from Ashley and Vanita, and we can wrap it up for the evening. Ashley, let me ask you this. If you give any advice on to anybody listening to this about the journey of finding a path or no path or what's right for you, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
I would say, first off, just understand that there is beauty in accountability.
It is.
To a lot of people, that is a very scary thing, which is why they may point the fingers or try to take the blame off of them or not take responsibility for their actions. There is so much beauty in just being accountable for everything that you do, whether it's great, whether it's not great, because the things that you do, like if you take accountability for your greatness, you are truly owning and celebrating yourself. If you take accountability for the things that you're not great in, there's still opportunity for you to improve and be better. So being able to just be accountable is always a great thing. And I feel like that is where religion kind of falls short, because it's kind of like it starts to become a pointing fingers thing. And so that is one big takeaway that I have gotten from this whole thing, is that I am totally self accountable. Like everything that I do, whether again it's something that I'm super proud of, whether it's something that I'm not proud of, I'm going to own it and live in that, because that's what makes me human. That's what makes me who I am. And so being that way, I think, is just allowing me to just live the most honest life that I've lived my entire life. And I feel like that is something that people just need to embrace and just know that it's okay. Like, you're not going to be perfect. No one is perfect. And just be okay with that. Like, do your research, find things that make sense for you, answer the tough questions that you're not able to get the answers from other people. Like, and just be secure in those answers, whether it's not a popular answer or whether it's not the answer of the majority, it's the answer that is most correct to you. So that is my takeaway.
Absolutely. That's a great takeaway. You said something that it was important. Actually, you said it allows you to live your most honest life. That's what I love about being aware and conscious. It allows you the chance to be you and be okay with that.
Yes.
Whatever that may be, you're able to live in your authentic truth instead of trying to conform to the rules and regulations, dogmas and doctrines and ideologies of what somebody told you should be doing. Like that may not be your path. And because you're listening to the peanut gallery and the matrix and everything they got to say, sometimes you don't even hear what God is telling you because you're too busy trying to fit in to the program. Delete the program and download your own shit, whatever that is.
Yes.
Because that's how you get to that's how you get to heaven. Your own heaven. not the one up there. Heaven. Heaven is on. Stop waiting to die. That's another thing. I'm tired of everybody waiting to die so they can
Oh
get
my
to the pearly
God.
gates. No, we're gonna get to the pearly gates down here.
Right. Like
Mhm.
everybody's prepping for the afterlife. It's like, what about the life that you're in right now? Like,
Right.
don't waste
Mm.
that because you're totally focused on something and you don't even know if it's there. So just
Right.
enjoy the moment that you're in right now.
Right.
Don't
That
rush it
way.
and don't dwell in the past. Focus on the present and the future of hopefully making it to the next day and the next moment. Like, just
Absolutely.
live in where you are right now because you
Absolutely.
don't even know where you're going afterwards, if anywhere. So be present in the life you have right now.
I mean,
I agree.
I'm like Ashley, I love my Negro spirituals about getting to the pearly gates and the gates of gold. I love singing them. I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I love it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, we're gonna get to the pearly gates on earth while we're here right now. This is the heaven God wants you to make right here. Don't
Yes.
just wait till you die. And hopefully we don't really know, what's
Right.
going to happen in the afterlife. So make the best of your time, free yourself, free your mind, so you can make the best of the life you have right here, right now.
Yep.
Sometimes
Mhm.
I think church hinders that. The teachings inside the church hinders that for a lot of people because you study trying to fit into this thing.
Yep. You
And it
either
really
scared that you're
doesn't
going
get
to heaven. I mean, you scared that you're going to hell, or you trying to prep to go to heaven. Either way, you're not focused on where you are right now. Like,
you're not in
just
the
focus on
moment.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not in the moment. You're not present. Right.
Right.
And that's another beautiful thing about spirituality. When God took me out of religion and took me into spirituality really harps on being in the moment and living in the now and not
Mhm.
living your whole life in the future or in the past.
Yep.
Because the only thing we have really is right now. We don't know what's
Mhm.
going to happen when we get off here. But
Yep.
we know we're here right now. So let's make the best of it. So,
That way.
Benita, do you have any closing remarks?
Just be authentic to yourself. Love yourself. Don't if you feel crazy, question what that is. What's really happening? It's not okay and that's not who you were brought here to be.
Absolutely.
So question that. It's okay to question it.
Yeah.
And we have to come out of fear. We like to go along kind of what Ashley was saying with the norm of what society is saying. You don't have to follow along with them. It's okay. You can do your own thing. You can have your own voice. You can go against what they're saying. What's gonna happen? What's the worst that's gonna happen if you go against what they're saying? I'll
Exactly.
tell you from experience, not a damn thing.
Nothing.
Nothing happens. But happiness, you happier and freer. That's all.
And at the ultimately, only your happiness matters.
Yes.
Your happiness matters.
Hmm.
Not what everybody else got going on. Because they ain't living your life. They're not gonna suffer. Your happiness matters.
Yep.
Figure out what's best for you
That way.
and do
Yep.
that. And do that. Well, thank you guys. This was an
You're
amazing,
welcome.
amazing show. Thank you, Miss Ashley, for joining us. You are always such a phenomenal guest. I love when you
Yes.
are able to join because we get to have these type of conversations. And like Ashley said, there's a debate. I have a show. It's kind of far back. We did maybe like a year and a half or 2 years ago.
I think
It's a
so.
religious. Yeah, it's a religious debate. I think it is
Hmm.
really, really good. Ashley and we had another guest and a young lady on here, and we did a
Yes.
little debate, and it was really good. So if you have a chance, go back and look at that show because it was a really show, and we'll redo that again.
Yes, I
Find
agree.
Ashley.
Yeah.
It was a
Good.
good one.
Find somebody to come on.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was enlightening for
It
sure.
was definitely
Yes,
like
it was.
yeah, so that was cool. But thank you, Ashley, for I really appreciate your time. I know you are very busy planning your wedding and all of that
Yes.
stuff. Let's congratulate
Yeah.
Ashley. She is getting married this year. And like I said, her
Thank
life
Woo
is
you.
woo.
reflecting her life is reflecting her heart.
Exactly.
Her life is
Exactly.
reflecting her heart.
Hmm.
Yes.
So that's really what it's all about. Thank you,
Yes.
Miss Vanita. You are always the best.
Thank you.
Not because you're my best friend, but you the best.
Thank you, babe. Thank
Cheers,
you.
cheers, cheers.
Thank you.
Yes, you are. We'll be back next week,
Next week.
7:30
Mhm.
same time. Again, if you are new, welcome. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the love. If you don't mind liking and subscribing. We're here every Wednesday at 7:30. Hopefully every Wednesday. Sometimes we're out of town, but if we're in
Yep.
town, we are usually here. We love chopping it up with y'all. So again, thank you for your support, and we'll be back next Wednesday. Good night,
Yes.
everybody.
Good night.
Yeah, next
Good night.
week.